Hey guys, another video on Billy James here. Me and my dad's worked on this old truck today. We've worked on the 66. I've piddled with my old wagon over here, Matilda, whatever, asshole, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, this old truck, I really like this thing. It's a very good running old truck. It really has yet to disappoint me. I've drove it a lot. Anyway, I have lowered it in the back. It doesn't look like it, but I promise you, it's on jack stands right now because I've got the front end apart. I've got jack stands on it because I was doing a lot of beating and banging under here earlier. When this truck's setting off all that crap, that wheel lip's way down here. But anyway, you'll see what I'm talking about. Probably tomorrow, AutoZone has let me down again. You know, go figure. Hell, it's everything anymore. It don't matter where I try to get parts from. They don't have them. They got to order them. So I'm saying, guys, this old stuff, used to, a set of ball joints for one of these trucks, it was almost a guarantee. The local parts store had them. If they didn't, next town over would. Well, guess what? Anymore, they don't have them. I'm surrounded by several big cities, and they didn't have ball joints for a damn C-10 truck. Ain't that crazy? I mean, it's a very common ball joint, but anyway, it is what it is. So what did I do to lower the rear of this truck? And I hate that you're seeing it like this because I promise you it's a lot lower than it is now. It's just where I have the truck lifted up and I've got it on stands. But anyway, Tim Dixon lowered this truck. He lowered it just a little bit. He didn't go crazy with it. I will say the truck rode and drove great. So he's kind of got me rethinking on how I lower these things. I always flip the rear end. I C-notch the frame and 3-inch spindle on the front, 2-inch spring. That's just what I do. You can go either way on the front. If you want to use a 2-inch spindle and a 3-inch spring, same damn thing. But I can tell you the taller your spring is, the more spring you have, the better ride you're going to have. I don't know that 1 inch of spring is really going to make much of a difference, but that's just what I like to do. So, with all that being said, Tim, instead of flipping them, he likes to use spring hangers. That's something I've never done. I don't know. I just like to flip them. I like the way they look when I get done with them. But you know what? I've got an open mind. So, you know, maybe I'll start doing this. We'll see how this truck sets when I get done. This truck has a 3-inch, what I think to be a 3-inch lowering spring hanger. And, you know, I talked to Tim. He's probably lowered a damn dozen of these trucks since he lowered this one. He don't remember exactly what he done to this truck. But I know Tim. I know how he works, and I know how I work. And he may not think so, but I think we kind of think a lot alike on some things. So if I was going to lower this truck and it was set in stock and I was just going to do a spindle, I believe I would have done a 3-inch spindle. This spring hanger, I think I would have done a 3-inch spring hanger and a 1 or 2-inch shackle. So this thing's got a spring hanger and a shackle in the back. So let's say it's a 3-inch hanger and a 2-inch, a 3-inch spring hanger and a 2-inch shackle. That would be 5 inches. So when you flip one of these rear ends, it's 5 to 6 inches, depending on your spring pack, whatever it may be. Whether you've got the big 10 pack or you've got 8 damn springs or 4 or 3, you know, some of them are stronger, some of them are weaker, whatever. You understand. So I'm just going on a whim here again. I believe the truck's got a 3-inch spindle, a 3-inch spring hanger in the back, and a 2-inch shackle. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think that's what we're working with. So I've got new springs for the front. They did not use a, sorry about that, I've been handling these old parts. They did not use a lowering spring in the front, only a spindle. So we're going to go with a 2-inch spring. I thought about going with the 3-inch spring, but if it's a 3-inch spindle and you use a 3-inch spring at 6 in the front, and you're almost guaranteed for your wheels to get into the inner fenders. So we don't want to do all that. Worst case, I'll raise the rear end back up if it don't look right, but I think we're going to be setting real good. The way the rear end measured out, which was like 27, and I think it's 27 over here, 27 and a quarter on that side. So we're a 1/4 inch apart. So I'll hit on that real quick. This truck was 1 inch higher on the driver's side than it was on the passenger side. Most of these trucks are. I've had a bunch of them. They're almost always about 1 inch higher on one side than they are the other. Some people call it Chevy lean, whatever. I have no damn idea. You know, I don't know if they've done them like that. It's almost always on the driver's side that it's higher. You know, I'll just say in my case, it is always on the driver's side. Maybe sometimes it's on the passenger side. Sometimes I'll use a 1 inch lift shackle. I didn't have that choice on this truck because of the way it's been lowered. So I took the overload spring out of the driver's side and I cut the overload spring on the passenger side. So basically just like a little 1 inch raising block on the passenger side to kind of level it out. So anyway, there's that. I wish I knew somebody that made knives. Those leaf springs, evidently, I've seen a lot of videos. They make good knife blades. I guess it's extremely hard in steel. And of course, some of the blacksmithers, they can melt it down and make knife blades out of it. Maybe I've got a friend that does that. I don't know. I've got a lot of friends. We'll see. Maybe I can find somebody that can do something with those old cut up pieces. This truck also, oh my goodness, it had these lift blocks. Who the hell knows why on a 2-wheel drive truck? This truck, good God, if it could talk, who knows the stories this old truck could tell? Me knowing where the truck come from, oh my goodness, there's no telling what this old truck could tell you. Probably a lot of shit you didn't want to hear. But anyway, it had some lift blocks under the springs. Don't know why. I wish I did, but I don't know why. And let me just tell you, that's a heavy ass block. My goodness. You would never have to worry about that thing rotting. That thing probably weighs down 20 pounds. But anyway, we took the lift block out of both sides. I took the overload spring on the driver's side, and I cut the overload spring on the passenger side to drop that rear end down just a little bit more. And 2-inch drop springs on the front. So hopefully this thing's going to set like I wanted. I think it will. Again, I drove the truck earlier. That rear end sets a lot lower than it looks like it is now, I promise you. So, you know, hopefully when I get the springs on and drive it up and down the road, that thing's going to set on down. You know, like where the bed's at here, it was on down here over this tire when I was driving it earlier. Again, these jack stands are holding it up right now. So I started taking the spindles off to change the springs. So here's kind of the main thing on this video, guys. You can kind of see this old ball joint has seen its better days. This is a lower ball joint, and it's just wore out. I will say the upper ball joints on this truck were not bad. They were actually pretty good, but you've already got it apart. You might as well put them all in it. So I'm just going to kind of show y'all how I do these ball joints. You can do them however you want. I don't really care. Just wanted to kind of show y'all. So this is an upper ball joint. And this is going to be the same from probably 73 up to 87. Again, upper ball joint, like there. So these things are riveted in from the factory. So when you take these out, you know, if they've never been changed, they're gonna have rivets on them. Cut the rivets off, and what I typically do when I grind the rivets off, you can see this little slice here I've made. I'll go right down the center of each rivet and make a slice before I take a hammer and a chisel and try to beat underneath that thing. You know, the reason I do the little slice, for one thing, it's going to heat that rivet up. It's going to break some of that old rust loose. And when you start beating that chisel, you know, around the front, and then when you know, kind of come out, go around the edges, it's also going to help that rivet collapse as you're trying to pull that ball joint up and out. So the lower ball joint, when you're changing these lower ball joints, it's going to be in here like this from the bottom. See what I'm talking about? Of course, this is going to be a little higher. I've seen people trying to press these out. I don't know why you would do that. Once you take the spindle off, put you a jack under it, a board, it don't really make a damn. Get you a hammer like that and just hit it. Hit it, beat the shit out of it. It's gonna come out and probably fly across the floor. But of course you don't want to just beat the shit out of your A-arms or anything, but that's the easiest way to get these out. Now, as far as putting them back in, this lower ball joint will be pressed in. You will have to press it in from the bottom. So if you don't have a ball joint press, run to your local AutoZone or Harbor Freight, whatever. I have a Harbor Freight ball joint press. I actually loaned a very good and expensive ball joint press out to somebody, and they tore it up. So anyway, I got in kind of a bad way needing one. Had a couple trucks out here that needed ball joints, so I ran to Harbor Freight and I bought a Maddox, M-A-D-D-O-X maybe, ball joint press, and I was impressed with it. It seems like a good tool. So anyway, the lowers will have to be pressed back in. Your upper ball joint, it will typically come with bolts and washers and stuff. I was actually really surprised at how good that ball joint was. It really didn't need to be changed. Knowing the history of the truck, I can't believe it was any good. But I've already got the spindle out. We might as well go ahead and put new ball joints in it. This is an old truck. Again, I think it's a 78 or 79. Let's call it a 78. I'm an 88 model, so I'm 35 years old. This truck's 45 years old if it's a 78. I want to say it is a 78. I don't remember. Anyways, guys, just a little update on Billy James. That's where we're at. I'm almost done with it. It won't be long. Rod run's coming up, and Mr. PIB's got a bunch of parts ordered. He's got a trim set for this truck and a trim set for the 66. Now, we worked on the 66 today as well. I might do a video on it later. But anyway, I'm probably going to be picking those parts up at the rod run along with some parts for my 69 GMC. And, you know, of course, I'll revisit this truck as far as doing the trim and kind of relining everything. But I think it's going to be a different truck. I'm tickled with kind of how the progress is going on it. I was really happy at how low the rear end was. And again, I know I've said it 15 times. This thing sets a lot lower than it looks like it does now. So I'm happy with it. I think Mr. and Mrs. PIB will be happy with it. And that's the most important thing. Guys, I'll shut up. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, again, on lowering these trucks, I've done these trucks about any way you can do them. Now, if you don't want to spend money on a spring, my dad, he's lowered a ton of Camaros and stuff, and, you know, when he's lowered those Camaros, he'll cut the coil out and then heat it and flatten that coil back out, kind of like right here. So you see how that coil's kind of flat to that spring? If you cut this one, it's not going to set right in that lower A-arm. So you can cut it and then heat that lower coil and flatten it back out. Now, a half a coil is 1 inch. So if you don't want to spend the money, then these springs were about $130, something like that. I know that's a lot of money to some people. It's a lot of money to me now, and it's definitely been a lot more money to me at certain points in my life. So, you know, sometimes, you know, instead of spending the money on these old springs, you can just cut them. It's up to you. A lot of people say it makes them weaker or whatever. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really make a damn. But, you know, if you want to come over here, cut you one coil out of this stock spring, then, you know, heating it and maybe mashing that up, I would start with a half a coil first. If you wanted to cut, you know, a half a coil off and then heat it and mash it back down, I would just about bet you that'd be 2 inches. Just guessing. But anyways, if you have any questions on lowering these old trucks, any way you can lower them, just get with me. I'd be glad to help you if I can. Now, as far as the comments, I check them sometimes I don't. Sometimes I might go a week or 2 or 3 and I don't ever even look at them. I apologize. I stay busy. I've got a 9-to-5 job, and man, they've been just working us to death on overtime. These old cars and trucks and stuff keep me busy, plus the rod run's coming up. So I'm trying to get old Matilda over here ready for the rod run. Having just a few little things I want to do to it. I've got to get some stuff ready. I've got a little scooter. I've got some bicycles, just numerous things that I've got to do to get ready for the rod run. So anyway, again, any questions on lowering them, flipping them, doing the hangers, whatever, get with me. If I can answer your question, I will. And I'd be glad to help. Guys, I appreciate you watching. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.